Hello, dear passengers. This is your captain speaking, and we're about to take off for another episode of Adventulina. Hello, this is your captain speaking. I believe this is not the first time I'm starting an episode with this Red Hot Chili Peppers song, but hey, at least it's a good one, right? What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Adventulina, your Sunday travel dose. It's summer, people are booking vacations left and right. Everyone's going somewhere. It's probably the most exciting time of the year. Well, not for the countries where it's summer all year round, but you know. With planning and booking, here comes the responsibility of finding the perfect match for your accommodation. This cute place that you're going to either share with a significant other or friends, or maybe you're gonna go stay by yourself. But both ways, you want it to be nice. You want it to be located in a good neighborhood or area. And let's admit it, you want it to not break the bank. I was thinking today we can maybe talk about how to book the perfect accommodation and how to make sure all our requirements are covered before we hit the holy button pay. Planning a vacation is exciting, well, I hope for most of us, but it can also be overwhelming for other people, especially when it comes to finding the perfect accommodation. With so many options available, it can be confusing, and confusion often leads to mistakes. We don't want to end up staying at a place that is completely different from what we expected. Nor do we want to, show up somewhere and realize we're like 10 miles away from most of the attractions. Not to mention arriving in a bad neighborhood and, having to spend a few days being on alert every time you walk out the door. No. Let's just talk about what the essential steps are when booking accommodation. It doesn't matter if you're looking for a budget-friendly option or a luxurious place. These steps will help you narrow down your search and find the ideal accommodation for you. Because again, we don't travel to see everything or to see what people highly recommend or like. We travel to satisfy our own curiosity and to see the things we are interested in. This equals to staying in a place we would prefer, we would feel better staying in. I believe after this episode, you have all the information you need to, make an informed decision and plan your dream vacation. So let's get started. Just like anything good in life, booking accommodation is not a fast process. Most of the time, you would need to, invest some time to do a proper research in order for you to get what you want for your budget. Depending on the purpose of the trip, of course, sometimes you may only need something in a specific area or neighborhood. Let's say you're traveling for a festival, you want to be close, you need a camp. That's different. But I would say for every city trip, the research for accommodation should be taken seriously. The number of times I've heard people complaining from the neighborhood or the view from the balcony or the number of bathrooms. Let's be honest, with all platforms to find places to stay at and with all detailed information provided there, it's less and less likely for those things not to be mentioned or even photographed in the offering. Someone just kind of needs to pay attention to them in advance, Someone who presses the button pay. I guess the only thing that you can't expect it to be mentioned in a listing is something like bad neighborhood. I don't know. But there is a way to know before you go. We'll talk about this later. So let's start with step 1. Just like when we search for flights or any other type of transportation, we need our date set up. We need to know the number of the nights we're staying. If you're a lucky bastard that doesn't depend on anyone or anything and you are extra flexible, good for you. A little jealous, but good for you. I guess skip that step, Of course, for most people, the ideal scenario is having the ability to book a vacation whenever they want. And not only that, but also when prices are lower. Flexibility provides a wider range of options and can result in more affordable prices. And sometimes changing your original travel dates by just a single day can make a significant difference, especially if you're changing from a day on the weekend to a weekday. You have to click around your preferred time frame, and if you're flexible, you can definitely save money on that, which means more to spend there. Oh, sorry, not the Christmas laugh again, sorry. Next thing you would need to decide on, if you haven't yet, what kind of accommodation do you want to stay in? This often gets decided based on the destination. Each place comes with its own vibe and kind of type of accommodation in general. But what do you prefer? It varies depending on the location, group size, your budget. And let's admit it, sometimes it even depends on our mood while booking it. Maybe you feel good about, spoiling yourself a little bit while you're browsing the internet. There are many factors to consider, but try to narrow it down to one or two key factors and work from there. Because why looking for something you're not interested in? When I travel solo, my accommodation is the thing I book the fastest because I'm not waiting for anyone to confirm if dates and prices are okay. I'm not asking for approval if they like the place. I'm not worried if whoever's coming with me has everything they need. It's just me. And I don't need much because first, I'm not picky, and second, I'm not gonna live there. I would just use this place to take a shower, sleep, and repeat until I exhaust my itinerary. I primarily stay in hostels when I travel solo. Here and there, I would stay in a Motel 6 or some inn, just in cases where the price is close to a hostel. Or, there was something disturbing about the hostels and I decided not to risk, let's say. When I say disturbing, this often means the location. I always say don't book a place just because it's cheap, even if it looks amazing. Just check the location first. Many budget-friendly options may be located far away from the interesting parts of the place you're visiting, especially if it's a city. Being far away from everything touristy could cost you more in transportation expenses and, of course, more time in commute. You can spend this precious time exploring something new. Also, the money you spend on transport to go back and forth to your cheaper accommodation sometimes equals the money you saved from booking this cheaper accommodation, It's not worth it spending the money you saved on accommodation for cabs and public transport. Always prioritize the location and convenience when selecting. Something I always use and something I care about most when looking for a place to stay, the map option. Use it. It's there for a reason. But don't just use it to see where places are. Use it to find places in a specific area. When I travel to big cities, for example, I always check the recommended areas to stay. I check if they are at a reasonable distance from the attractions I want to visit. I also search for, bad neighborhoods and parts of the city where it may be dangerous for tourists to hang out. Sometimes not even tourists, it would be dangerous in general. Once I know which areas are good and which are bad, I can go to the map and, have a clear understanding where to look for accommodation. Because now I'm not just looking for a place to stay, I'm looking for a place to stay in certain parts of this destination. That helps a lot with narrowing down your options. It also gives you a better look at the availability, the area, and the prices. Another thing that is good to know is, if some of your activities or tours will happen in a certain area. Let's say you have a lot of things you want to see and do in a specific neighborhood, it would make sense for you to stay closer as you're gonna spend a lot of time there. Not every time though you would know where your activities and tours will be. A lot of people start planning their days after booking the accommodation, but sometimes you know in advance because you've been wanting to go there for a while or because you did research and that's how you picked the destination. Using the map option really simplifies the process of searching for accommodation. You don't have to check the address of each place and you don't have to estimate the distance between this place and the attractions you want to see. The map view also helps you get more familiar with the destination itself and you actually have an idea where you are and where you will be. This is very helpful later when you are physically there and you kind of walk on the streets. Most likely you'll have an understanding of where you are and you will gain a little bit of confidence. Well, if you're good with directions, I guess. Because I know some people who have no goddamn idea where east and west is or how their city looks from above. But anyway, price. This is one of the biggest factors to consider when booking accommodation. Most of my listeners are budget travelers, so we do need to look at prices before deciding. So yeah, if you're on a budget, filter your search results by price and avoid wasting time looking at options that are beyond what you can afford. Having a clear understanding of your budget is important for the whole planning process and will save you a ton of time. On the other hand, if money is not a problem, go ahead and book that vacation home. Good for you. Moving forward, reviews. Unfortunately, leaving a review is not always an option exclusively for those who have made previous bookings. Some platforms, Google for example, allow people to rate experiences as long as they have an email with Gmail. Like, really stupid if you ask me, because as long as the business has a page on Google, and as long as you have an email with Google, you can leave a review even for places you have never visited and for services you have never used. I think this is unfair and it makes me not trust reviews on Google entirely. But a lot of platforms are exactly the opposite, and I love that. You won't be able to leave a review unless you have booked and paid. So no booking, no opinion. You can't leave a review for something you haven't experienced. Like Viator and Airbnb have never let me down when it comes to reviews. You can learn so much about places and experiences from the visitor's perspective in the reviews, and this will really influence your final decision. The amount of times I have booked things completely based on what I read on Viator, for example, and I have never been disappointed. So check those reviews, see what people say. Check a couple of websites, I would say open their business pages, even social media pages. It's very rare for the feedback to be completely different at different platforms. Most likely, if the place sucks, you will see the same comments everywhere. And the opposite, if it's a nice place, this will get confirmed on all websites where reviews are available. Leaving feedback is a subjective matter though, There's some people who are just never satisfied and they will always find things to complain about, even if it's the best place. You can never make them happy. I think it's obvious who they are sometimes in the comments when you're reading like nice comment after nice comment and all of a sudden you see the salt shaker was only half full. I don't know, go F yourself, Susie, or whoever you are. But anyway, there are people like me on the other side who are not picky and don't even need much to be impressed or leave a good review. Maybe we're a little misleading too, right? They would give us bread, eggs, and milk for breakfast, and we're gonna be like, breakfast was everything I could ask for in the reviews. So yeah, checking reviews is important, but I would say don't get obsessed over it unless you know they're recurring 1-star from the majority of people who left their feedback. Another thing to check before booking a place to stay, your credit card deals. If you're using credit cards, this is something you shouldn't ignore. Make sure to check if your credit card gives you any exclusive offers or cashback on specific hotel brands and chains. Booking through the credit card platforms almost always gives you a better value. If they don't partner with any big hotel chain or any of the places you want to stay at, you at least make cashback or rewards or miles or points. In my opinion, cashback is always the smallest benefit you can get, and this is because it's a strict amount you get back. With miles and points on the other side, they can be used way better and always give you better value. Additionally, some websites offer bundle deals that include a rental car or allow you to book both accommodation and flights together in case you're looking for something more than just a place to stay, for example. I always check what deals I get from each of my credit cards, and that allows me to pick which one to pay with. This way I get better deals and also collect miles or points to use for my next bookings, which we already established sometimes means $11 round trip. So yoop. Another thing I do if I'm looking for anything different than Airbnb, I check the website of the hotel. I still do my research on Booking or Expedia or any of those platforms just to find a place that, covers my requirements. On these platforms, you can search for every single little detail you want. like bathtub, number of bedrooms, pool if you need, whatever. So I still use these websites to get a list of places I like, but after that I Google them separately. I check out their own websites. Because as a third party, Booking, Expedia, and all the other similar platforms do get a commission from bookings made through them. And often what you see on Booking or similar websites will be more expensive than what's on the website of the hotel. Or if prices are the same on both Booking and the hotel website, maybe Booking gets a percentage after, which means the hotel gets less. That's where calling the property directly enters the game. It's important to keep in mind that many websites that offer accommodation are simply search engines that, aggregate search results and do not provide actual accommodation. They just act as a connection between the property and the user. That's what the commission is for. So contacting the property you want to stay at directly instead of booking through a third-party platform is the extra mile you need to go and the one that really can pay off. It's, simple to enter your payment information and hit book, but contacting the property directly can give you even lower rates than the cheapest you see on the internet. Every hotel would gladly skip the part of paying third parties. They would rather log the customer on the phone with a better price. This, as I said, mostly works for hotels and resorts. It doesn't work for Airbnb and platforms similar to it, as they offer private owned homes. One of the most important things when booking an accommodation is checking the cancellation policy. Always. You must pay attention to the cancellation policy when booking travel arrangements. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of a good deal and to act impulsively, but we should not neglect important factors like cancellation policy. Plans change sometimes, and it's good to know that you can get your money back in case of cancellation. Sometimes I would look up a destination I may go to and I would see a really good deal, let's say. I quickly check the cancellation policy, and if I can cancel with no expense until a few days before the check-in, I just book it. Even if I'm not completely sure I'm going to this destination, I would just log the price and decide later. As I mentioned in the previous episode, the plan for my birthday this year was to go to Miami, and back in April, I did book a place just because I was leaning towards Miami for my birthday trip. I knew there was a chance for the destination to change, but I still booked the place that I liked because I knew it wasn't gonna be available later and I was gonna regret it. Later on, when plans changed and I ended up going to Chicago, I just canceled the reservation for Miami at no cost. The only thing I would recommend in cases like this though, when you book things with free cancellation just to log the price, set up a reminder for yourself. Because not going to a certain place will pretty much, wipe the memory of it off your mind. And you need to make sure you remind yourself to cancel this thing before the deadline so you don't get charged. Sometimes I would even consider 2 places for my next vacation, and I would book accommodation in each of the places just so I can use the deal I found. The free cancellation policy gives me the freedom to choose later where I want to go and cancel the one I don't need anymore. We really can't complain if we didn't read the details and had to cancel with, paying full price. If it's in the description, I'm sorry, but it's your fault. Most of the time, the platform you're booking with will even warn you before clicking on book. There will be also emails, reminders, and other stuff, so it's a shame to miss this type of information, honestly. Something I have to mention, especially for travelers from the US, price with taxes. How great it is to see $701 for a flight and hotel for 5 nights in Hawaii per person. However, the excitement fades away when you proceed to check out and see an additional $400 for taxes and various fees. I hate that. I hate it. Like catching the traveler's attention with a low price at the beginning and adding a bunch of taxes at the end of the transaction is one of the things that genuinely frustrates me. Can we just have the taxes ahead and see the total from the very beginning? I understand the strategy, but some places have so many extra taxes and fees that you end up paying nearly twice the amount they advertised. And I don't even understand those taxes, honestly, like property tax, city tax, air tax, water tax, tax of the tax, tourism tax, fee on the tourism tax. Like, come on. Like, if all those things are legit, can you please just include them from the very beginning? Like, I don't mind paying them if that's the law, but I want to see them in the total I see initially. So I guess always be aware of the price you see and the price that shows up before checkout. Booking and Airbnb, for example, which I primarily use, they both do it. Like, I always make sure I click on reserve on Airbnb just to see all the cleaning fees and stuff like that. A lot of people don't do it because they think once you click book, it will automatically book the property and they're not sure they want to do it yet. But you should always click on reserve when you're on Airbnb just to check the final price. Otherwise, you would be considering something that might end up costing you $200 more once the final price shows up. So maybe this is out of your budget, but you didn't know it because you didn't click on book and you didn't see all the additional fees. I also want to discuss check-in and check-out time. In my experience, it's always better to confirm important details like business hours and check-in, check-in out times over the phone or via email with the property or owner. Since the pandemic, many businesses still have not updated their Google business pages or other platforms. Like, shame on you. It's been literally 4+ years. And this can cause confusion. I've had a few situations where the information on the website I booked from was different from the actual hours of the front desk operation. And maybe that looks like something that is not that important, but trust me, it is when you arrive ready to explore your destination and you end up waiting for a couple of hours until your room is ready. To avoid any unpleasant surprises or waste of time or, packing in a rush because checkout turned out to be earlier than you thought, I recommend reaching out to the property directly to confirm these details. It's frustrating to arrive at 2 p.m. only to find out that check-in isn't until 3 p.m. or to rush to check out by 10 a.m. when the actual checkout is at 11 a.m. That extra hour can make a big difference in your travel plans, especially on your arrival day. If you have limited time or, if you have booked something like a tour or if you have a ticket for an attraction, and God, we all know how important that morning hour is on your last day of your vacation. Also, check out how the breakfast is. I can't tell you how many times I have talked to people who are extremely disappointed that their chosen accommodation did not offer breakfast. When I asked if breakfast was included in their booking, some of the people replied with surprise, "How can a hotel not serve breakfast?" The truth, my friend, is that many hotels around the world do not offer breakfast at all. Like, some places require an extra fee for breakfast. Some places are strictly designed for overnight stays only and do not provide additional services. It's important for travelers to know the hospitality terms and amenities so we actually understand what's offered in advance from the actual listing. For a person like me who always eats breakfast and gets very cranky when hungry, I need to know if there will be food around after I open my eyes. I need to know so I'm prepared with snacks until I make it to somewhere else to eat. So after we listed the essential steps to help you book your perfect accommodation, I think you guys are ready to narrow down your search, set a budget, and choose the best option for your needs. And just like everything else, once you get used to following certain steps, they just become part of your routine and you start applying them every time without even thinking too much. So soon you guys will be pro at booking places to stay. And talking about all of this reminds me of a work trip. Maybe 7 or 8 years ago, I was back in Bulgaria and I was gonna go to the capital city for a training with my colleague Danny. Shout out Danny if you're listening. It was during the winter and we got there, first went to the headquarters of the company we worked for. Then after the training, they gave us the address of the place we were gonna stay at. It was super close, so we were really happy that, we didn't have to walk that much, especially with our luggage, and also because of the cold and the snow. It was in the winter. So we get there, and I don't really know where to start from. There were so many wrong things about this place that I'm sure I will miss some of them. First, I want to make it clear that neither of us was responsible for booking this cave. The person in charge of the company travels did it for us as usual. So we get there, and first we see a door similar to a door to a store. It just gives the vibe of walking into a shop or something. So we thought, oh, that can't be it. Looks like we're about to enter something else. Little did we know that, in fact, this was our home for the next night. Thank God, only one night. It was on the ground floor of the building, like ground floor, like level where people usually put stores, some kind of shops, whatever. So this space was probably made for an office or some kind of business where people can just walk directly from the street. And it was freaking cold because I already mentioned it was in the winter. It was December. And ground floors, I don't really think they're made to be resident places, like at least not in countries with winter, because it's freaking cold. Anyway, this was just the first of the many woes we got this evening. After doubting if this is our place for a couple of minutes, and after trying to get into the building from the normal entrance, we realized that yes, this is our accommodation. So we opened the door and I don't know how else to say it, but the place looked literally like what do you call it in English? A red light district? A place where you can get a hooker. I'm not exaggerating. Like, all the furniture, colors, interior design was made in this vibe. Like, red and black. I think that's enough to be said. Like, who the hell picks colors like this, especially for their bedroom? Well, there was no bedroom here. Everything was one big studio, but So my colleague and I, we're pretty close. We were close friends outside of work, and we still are to this day. We didn't have a problem with sharing the whole space and sleeping in the same bed. This wasn't a problem at all. The problem was the bathroom and the shower in the middle of the studio. And I repeat that, in the middle of the studio. Like, they were divided from the actual studio by just a big glass wall. So imagine just a huge glass box in the middle of the apartment. So dining table and your bed next to it, and a toilet 6 feet away looking at you from the bathroom, conveniently located in the middle of the studio. It was ridiculous. It was unheard of. It was sad. Like, we first were surprised, then we started laughing, then we got concerned. We were like, wait, like, why did they bring us here? Like, we only agreed to get trained for software programs we're going to use, not for being hookers. What the hell is this training? What is going on here? On top of that, since we were on the ground floor, there were people constantly walking outside, right outside of the window, like getting in and out of the building, because yes, the entrance they were using is supposed to be the place where all residential or renting things are happening, not on the ground floor. So the AC was turned on max in a desperate attempt to warm up this hole. And it was so cold, especially with all the tiles everywhere on the floor and on the wall. Like, I've never seen like so many tiles on the floor and on the wall, except for in bathrooms. Horrible design. But the AC was blowing directly to the window, and it was moving the curtains. So every few seconds, we would see random people outside walking in front of the window. And it was so creepy because they could literally just take a look inside and see the whole apartment. I started to think that I won't be able to sleep there at all, like the whole night. 5 minutes later, we opened one of the cabinets in the kitchen. I repeat, in the kitchen. And there was a huge bottle of lube. So we were like, yeah. We gotta get out of here as soon as possible. It's confirmed. The night came and we had to go to bed because we had another day of training ahead of us. We somehow got warm enough to go to bed in sheets that weren't freezing anymore. But we knew we had to keep the AC working on max the whole night if we wanted to wake up, basically. That's how cold it was in this cave. And with the AC being on all night, there was going to be a lot of exposure from the inside to the outside of the street because these freaking curtains just kept moving and kept giving a sneak peek to everyone who was walking outside. It was horrible. Like, I slept on the side of the window, and the whole time I had this feeling that someone was watching me. I just felt exposed. It was so creepy. It was also pretty funny, and you can see the quotes I'm making with my hands, but hopefully you can sense the irony in my voice. It was pretty funny when we needed to use the bathroom. Oh my god. Like, my colleague would sit on the table doing something, and I would be feet away from her, peeing in the goddamn glass box. Because there's no curtain, there's just no way to hide yourself, like nothing, just a toilet in the middle of the apartment surrounded by glass. I'm telling you, I'm sure there were not many people who made it alive from this shithole. Like, thankfully we were one of them, but I'm sure there are not too many. So going to the bathroom, taking a shower, we were all in this together. Like, there were no secrets, no hidden stuff, no barriers between us. Just unique bond to develop with your colleague. Like, thank God we were already close when we experienced this horror. Otherwise, we were either gonna become best friends forever, or we were gonna hate each other and never speak again. I don't know what the other option is. Maybe this whole thing was on purpose. Maybe our company really wanted us to bond and build this connection, you know? Well, I highly doubt it, because the next day when they asked us how we slept, we just looked at each other and we told them to never book this accommodation for anyone else in the company, even if we hate them. Even if this is the worst employee, just don't do that to them. Turned out the person who was responsible for the booking kinda took a look at the photos, but pretty much booked the first thing she saw available close to the office. So even she was shocked after we showed her the photos. But yeah, a pretty good example of how when you just book a place for a good location without checking the rest of the important details, you can really screw up yourself, or in this case, your coworkers. Anyway, we forgive you, and we made the best of this experience by, joking and remembering everything to this day. Also, now we have a story to tell and an episode to be mentioned in. So guys, don't compromise with your accommodation, do your research, and make sure you're aware of everything before you book. The place you're staying in is a big part of your experience. Sometimes not really the amenities or the extra things the place offers, but how you're gonna feel when you're there, even if it's for a few hours over the night to sleep, and how you're gonna feel on your way to that place and when you're leaving it to go and explore your destination. Your surroundings, basically, your area, everything matters. Hope you guys found all this information useful. Hope you enjoyed the episode. I remind you to hit subscribe so you never miss an update from Adventulina. Thank you guys for listening again, and I will see you next Sunday. Until then, dream, plan, conquer. Bon voyage!